Well, welcome everybody back to Country Drive, and I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Nikki in Nashville.
Hello. Yes, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about Hawk Tua. What do you think about this kind of viral success since you are?
Wow. Well, I tried to do a little video on it. I tried to make a play on it, but it didn't go very viral. So I think it's just one of those things where like it happened and it did. But Zach Bryan pulled her up on stage while he was here in Nashville. And I was like, well, imagine, a week ago you were Hawk Tuaing and now you're on stage with Zach Bryan. I was like, what a world we're living in, right? When that can happen. But
Look what I wrote down to ask you about at the very beginning.
Oh, wow. That exact concept. Yes, we are.
But I wanted to ask you about it because you understand social media.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you just straight up at the beginning, I love your content.
Thank you.
To find out that on the internet and social media, there's music curators that can, introduce me to a lot of music I haven't heard about is like one of the coolest things.
That's awesome.
The stuff that you and Dillon and whatnot are doing just fascinate me that you guys get to make a living doing it.
Thank you.
Compliments to you on that. But to follow up on my original question, what brought you to social media and getting into content curation?
That's a great question. How long do we have? Long story long. I'll make it that. So actually, I would love it to be like the thing that I'm making a full-time income off of, but actually it's not. And when I used to work with this lady called Cody Sanchez, like I work in the digital marketing space, I worked with her for 2.5 years and I saw just how insanely big she grew and how much leverage she could have with a social media audience. Mm-hmm. And so I took a long time kind of thinking to myself, like, what is it that I want to create around? Like, what brand do I want to establish for myself? What do I want to be known for? And what can I have fun with? And it was kind of by like a happy accident one day, because like I started creating videos on TikTok that was kind of like taking people through stuff to do in Nashville. It's like, oh, you're here for the 4th. Like, here are some things you could do, or here's a new restaurant. I'm going to go check it out and like record it for you and like give you my thoughts. And one day I was just like in my apartment and I was listening to the radio, which I normally don't ever do. And I was like, this kind of doesn't really sound like the country music that I grew up on. And it was kind of just a weird feeling. And I went back to Spotify and I was like, I wonder if people out there are like me and they would get a kick out of just being like, well, these are the artists I listen to on Spotify. They're different than what's on country radio. And so I just did like a 7-second video where I did not say a word on TikTok. And I screenshotted 5 artists that I was listening to and like overdubbed it with a Coulter Wall song. And it was my first viral video. And I had no idea. I didn't plan for it to be that way. But I kind of thought, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe people are agreeing with me, like they want to find music that sounds more like what they're used to, that's kind of like a little bit more classic, traditional, the independent artist kind of thing. And so I just kind of tried to build from there, and that was all she wrote. It was definitely a very happy accident, but I am happy that it happened.
I love it when things happen organically, kind of by mistake.
Yeah.
They're not so forced.
Very much so.
How did you come to love independent country so much?
I didn't even know that that's what I was loving at the beginning, to be honest. I grew up, so I was born, I don't want to date myself, but I'm going to. I was born in 91. I grew up in 90s country for like, that's all I listened to from the time that I knew what music was outside of like classical music, because I took piano and all that kind of stuff. So I listened to blues and jazz, what my mom listened to. I listened to a lot of classical. And then the only other thing that played at our house was like 90s country music. So that's what I grew up on. And I definitely, rode the fad coming up into like the early 2000s. You're getting into like the rap country, the bro country, if you will. And before there was streaming, that was kind of like all I knew. But then as it started to evolve and Spotify came out and it was getting even more popular and I was finding all of these other artists, I was like, wow, these are incredible musicians. They're making amazing music. Why don't I hear them anywhere else? I'm just going to keep listening to stuff like this, on streaming and on Spotify and YouTube and gems on VHS and stuff like that on YouTube. And it wasn't until like I started making the content that I was really realizing that it was the independent scene and the underground kind of country music, the outlaw, the more traditional style that I was preferring. So it just kind of, organically happened that way too.
It was always organic.
Yeah.
That's one thing about Spotify that I really like. Mm-hmm. If I go and do Sturgill Simpson radio, they'll start to kind of show me to a lot of stuff that maybe I didn't know before.
Indeed, yeah.
It's another thing like what you do, again, with your curation. If you go on and you take the time, you can let other people expose you to better music.
Yeah.
I think I told you before, I like what I like and I get stuck in the past sometimes.
Right.
Give me the outlaw era. Give me 90s country, even back to the honky tonk era. And so when people are out there showing me new stuff, it's so valuable because I can't get it on the radio.
Good. Yeah. Well, who's your favorite artist?
Ever?
Otis
Redding.
Oh, nice.
Travis Tritt. Waylon Jennings.
I love
Sturgill
it.
Simpson.
And Sturgill?
Yeah.
Do you have your tickets to Sturgill?
No.
Not yet.
The first time I saw him was at the Ryman.
Okay.
You were with me? How long ago was that?
Don't remember.
I went to see Sturgill having only heard one song.
Nice.
The Promise.
One song in it.
So imagine what my expectations were. And then I got there and it was like a religious experience.
Yeah.
At the Ryman, it was crazy. And his
can
fans
imagine.
are terrific.
Yeah.
Now my new bucket list thing is I want to see Revival
Oh, yeah.
in concert.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a good time.
Everybody says that's a religious experience. I saw that at Pilgrimage last year, and it was something. It was like I've never seen a mosh pit at a country concert, but until then, honestly, like that's kind of what happened. It was great.
Well, since you asked me some of my favorites, let's see. Who are your top 5 female country artists of all time?
Female. Ooh, that's a good one. I like being put in the spot. I'm going to think. I'm going to start with the present one because I can't get enough of her, and it might be a new recommendation for some of you guys, but Taylor Honeycutt. She's like Alabama country. She gets recommended a lot by the Red Clay Strays. And she's kind of like Whiskey Myers as a female artist. And I love Whiskey Myers, and she puts on a heck of a show. And she wears more turquoise than me, so I got to give that to her. I would say I listened to a ton of Trisha Yearwood when I was younger. I listened to a ton of Shania Twain. I love currently, I think Nolene Hoffman is probably in the running for one of my favorite female artists of all time. Was that 4? That was 4. Let me think of 5. Oh, man. Probably Terry Clark.
It's a good one.
I love Terry Clark. She has so many. I saw her at CMA Fest once at Chevy Riverfront, and like back to back to back songs. I was like, I had no idea that you had so many amazing songs. But yeah.
That's awesome. You have a unique list.
Yeah.
Absent of Dolly.
I love Dolly. I love her music. Nobody will ever replace Dolly, ever. I don't think she's one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get yelled at for that, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. We saw Garth twice last year in concert.
Nice.
And during the encore, when Trisha comes up singing, what is the song from the Bradley Cooper movie, A Star is Born?
Star is Born. Oh, they sang Shallow together?
Shallow. And man, it is great.
They probably killed that.
And then she does a couple of her songs, and she's just amazing. One of the best voices ever.
My gosh, yeah. I would probably throw. I love everything that Reba's ever done too. It's just like hard to pick. And then recently too, Sierra Farrell. Like I didn't mention her. It's always hard to pick on the spot what my favorites are, but just like Sierra Farrell, I think is definitely going to go down as one of my favorites too. But I can't get enough of her. She's like an angelic voice. Yeah.
Well, I had to ask you because you do a lot of top 5s.
Yeah.
But you do more modern stuff.
I do. A lot of my top lists outside of like top releases are audience voted because I think it's cool to ask opinions of the people that follow me and hear what they say and kind of get like a consensus on what they think their favorites are. Compare them to mine, but I also share with everybody like, hey, here's what your peers like, you know? A lot of arguments ensue after that, but I think it's cool to hear what the audience has to say.
Okay, so you just brought something up for me.
Okay.
So a couple of times recently, we did like top 5 albums of all time with one of my guests.
Okay.
And the comments cracked me up.
Oh, boy.
Because, Mike Shimshak was willing to just say, here are my top 5 albums. He didn't really worry about it. He just said those. And it was like, that's great. Those are his top 5 albums. So then you can go to the comments on Instagram, and I started to learn an important lesson. Some people will come on there and say, you're an idiot.
They will.
And they will just trash whatever you said. But they won't give their list.
Right.
And then some people will come on there and say, this was a stupid list. Here are my 5. And I respect the latter more because at least you're willing to put it out there.
Right. It's like some people just want to disagree to have something to do sometimes.
But the fun part about it is when I look on these comments, Someone the other day, we were talking about singer-songwriters, and they put David Gray. I haven't listened to David Gray in like 15 years, so it reminds me, go listen to David Gray.
Right.
So that's kind of the value of the comments for me.
That's true. A lot of people bring up things that, yeah, like you said, like you haven't heard in a long time or you kind of don't think about a lot. That happened to me at this past CMA Fest. They had Ricochet play at one of the side stages, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and listen to some Ricochet.
Daddy's
and
money.
Shenandoah.
Daddy's money.
Yeah. It was like I mistakenly one time on this is probably like a whole nother comments thing, but people get up in arms about your opinions if they disagree with you. Some of my like best performing videos are one of the ones where I'm like, this song was a one-hit wonder, and everyone shows up and they're just like, what are you talking about? You know nothing. Like you should not be allowed to do this. And I'm just like, okay, well, opinions aside, I think it actually was, but I said Ricochet's Daddy's Money was one of them, and people were like, yeah, no.
I wonder why people are like that, because when you state your top artist, when you state your top songs or the songs you like right now, like it's not saying that I don't like your stuff. You're just saying, here's the 5 I like, and hopefully you have 5 you love.
Right.
Except for with all the political debate nowadays, music debates are fun.
They are fun.
Because nobody's right.
Right. Nobody's right. And it doesn't get, well, it gets pretty heated, but there's not as much at stake, I don't think. It's like, it's just, song, artist, album. Yeah.
What did one of Dolly's fans call me the other day, Joey?
A snob.
A music snob? Or just a normal snob? Oh, okay.
So I love Dolly.
Yeah.
But we had done this thing about who are the top singer-songwriters. And my guest gave like 5 or 6 of his. And just kind of based on how he was talking, I started thinking more kind of independent, lesser known. And I just he asked me a couple of mine, and I said Steve Earle and Townes Van Zandt.
Oh, yeah.
More of the kind of the ilk of like, based on how I define singer-songwriter.
Right.
And some woman said, well, I can't believe you left Dolly off this list. And I'm like, well, first off, I think Dolly's a great songwriter. It's a reel that lasts a minute. Okay, we can't list everyone.
Can't go through everyone. Yeah.
And I said, so I was just kind of thinking off the top of my head of like people like Steve and Townes. And what did she say? Well, it's kind of snobby, isn't it?
You're leaving off so many in this 60 seconds that you have to talk.
That's why. See, I only started doing reels like 2 months ago. So when I have someone like you here, I have to learn like how you handle and navigate these waters.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I have a map for that yet. It's like I'm still kind of learning the nuances because it changes all the time of social media and what all the platforms want to see in reels. And I've kind of come to learn recently that you just have to do your thing without really caring what people are going to have to say, because you're sort of darned if you do and darned if you don't in this scenario. Like people are going to get at you if you have one opinion, and if you agree with them, then the other side will come out. And it's just, stick to your guns, what your opinions are, and the people will agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that the disagreement is what gets you more engagement?
It does. The whole, like, all press is good press kind of thing is like most of the time when people disagree with you and arguments ensue, that's what sends something absolutely viral. And I think people, it's just they go back and forth in the comments, and they probably rewatch over and over so they can formulate their own opinion and their disagreement. But that's what does it for you. It really does. And it's so bizarre. Like, yeah.
Well, I'll ask another question that I can get some exposure to new artists from.
Let's do it.
Who are the top new artists of 2024 I need to be listening to?
New artists of 24. Like they just came out as new artists, or kind of like
23, 24.
Sure. He's been around for more years than this, but I think the year of 23 and 24 has really been the Zach Top era. I think everybody knows who that is now. But Grady Smith just did a cool video on like why, 90s country artists are kind of coming back in. And he was one of the main people that he was talking about. And it's just like, I don't know how he does it, but it's like he has a feel of like Keith Whitley and Alan Jackson rolled into one, put together in a new modern way, and that he does all his own. And he's fabulous at social media, and people take note. It's crazy like how viral he's gone, but well worth it. So definitely Zach Top. Braxton Keith has come on my radar recently. He's been around for, longer than 23, 24, but he's done some crazy things in the last couple of years. His new single, Cozy, I think just went multiple millions streamed. and people love his like very classic sound. And he's such a young kid too, which it's kind of, you know, crazy that somebody that young is like, he's portraying so much of the classic style. Gosh, newer artist, 23, 24. Man, who is newer that I talk about all the time? I talk about Jesse Daniel all the time. He's not super new, but I think a lot of people know about him this year because he released his album that got a ton of good acclaim, especially from like big outlets like Saving Country Music. So
Trigger's
people know,
awesome.
yeah, Trigger's really, he's a kingmaker.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
He absolutely does.
Yeah. And I said her name before, but ever since, you know, she kind of got in contact with Zach Bryan and did the Purple Gas thing, Nolene Hoffman is going crazy in the last couple of years. And the Castellos, I think, is like the trio female artist, the sisters, who like, I think they signed a record deal, had 1 million followers, had over 1 million Spotify streamers, and booked their first headlining tour all within a year, something like that. And I was like, wow, people, you know, they know what they like. So those are some good ones that have popped up for me over the last, you know, half a year or so.
Yeah. We had Keith Stegall on the podcast, and he wrote Hurricane
Okay.
back in like, I think late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they
do
did
such a good cover of that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
They killed that cover.
They did.
And there's people that are critical of them because they're like, they're too wholesome.
Okay.
Can you
That's
imagine?
interesting.
Can you imagine? They're like, isn't this just typical, like people that say that, you know, they have good looks.
Right.
And so that's why they're making it. But if you listen to them, man, they are good.
They are. They're fabulous. They're fabulous instrumentalists. They have great vocals. They have great stage presence. They did a cover of Coulter Wall's Sleeping on the Blacktop for CMA Fest, and that's one of the ones that I shared. And it was so good. Like, I didn't think anyone would do that song justice other than him, but they definitely did. And I was like, wow, you guys are it. So, yeah.
I'll tell you another one that's coming on, Cassius Culpepper.
Oh, yeah.
He's got it.
Most definitely.
I heard him and I thought, man, this might be the future.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I missed him at CMA Fest, but yeah, he's taken off. That's great to hear.
Yeah. I haven't been to CMA Fest. I just hear him online.
Okay.
I've never been to CMA Fest.
It's a hard pill to swallow if you don't like crowds, but also it's always hot because it's at the beginning of June and there's so much going on. It's just overwhelming.
Do you think that we could find, or a medium will come out with an independent country radio station, or is it just going to continue to be regulated to streaming?
I think we will. I think we will have something where an independent station's going to come out somewhere somehow. I think it's right on that, like, we're kind of right on the cusp where I'm seeing a big gap between what mainstream radio and like commercialized country is pushing versus what a lot of the fans are like wanting to see. It's almost like a rift is being created because they're so fervent in the current, you know, mainstream sound, the marketable sound, the pop country sound, that's almost going the way of its own genre. And so people are wanting to see, you know, radio stations and media outlets that are pushing the independent artist, and I think that it's going to happen.
I hope so. Does Sirius have like an independent country station?
I'm sure they do. They've got like outlaw country and stuff like that. I'm sure they have an independent station as well.
But where they're pushing like modern artists also?
Probably.
I hope so.
I don't know. I hope so.
I'm not subscribed to it, so
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not either. If they did, now they do. You know, I'm sure somebody's listening. But.
You should get your own station on there.
Think about it.
That would be terrific. I would listen to it. And I would probably subscribe if I knew they had some really good independent stuff.
Amazing. Yeah, I would love to just kind of sit around and DJ and listen to music.
Where do you see country music going? You were kind of mentioning this a second ago, but are you enthusiastic for the future?
I am. The whole concept behind my brand, I think, in some of the stuff that I share is that these two sides of country music can coexist peacefully. And I think that's kind of the way that it almost has to be. One, for the powers at play, if you will, the people who decide what's on radio and some of the bigger labels decide what's popular, what's going to get played, what's going to get the mainstream spins, that kind of thing, versus this huge underground independent movement of fans that are coming up just wanting more of the traditional sound, and they want to see more independent like Jesse Daniels pushed, you know. And I think that those are going to coexist in a way that like people are going to feed off of each other's audience, and it almost is just It's interesting to me that sometimes people villainize one side or the other. It's like, oh, you listen to Morgan Wallen, you are not allowed to listen to, Josiah Spicer or like Red Clay Strays or any of these people. You're not allowed to listen to the people who we listen to if you like Morgan Wallen. I'm like, well, you kind of got to go where the eyes are, right? It's just like marketing 101. Almost one of the times, like if you want something to grow organically, you want to introduce this fan base to where there's a larger set of eyeballs already. So it's like, don't villainize them for liking him. Be like, if you like this, you might also like this. And then everybody wins.
100%. And I have to say something about the independent artist. Whenever a mainstream artist does a duo with an independent, it's almost like it legitimizes the mainstream artist more today.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it shows that they're kind of willing to go for the people that have a smaller audience, but they know they can because they bring a lot of value musically.
Yeah, most definitely. I think a lot of people have I'll have to ask you what you think about this, but Post Malone's presence in country music. I'm curious what you think about that.
I absolutely love it.
Cool. Yeah.
The spirit that he lives his life with, I think, is contagious. And the sound that he's given, like when he did Brad Paisley's cover, and then he did You Can Have the Crown by Sturgill, which was kind of his, that was his first like intro to the public saying, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
And he killed both of them. And the other day, I heard him singing my buddy Jim McBride's song Chattahoochee, and he was killing that on stage.
So good.
So I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah.
I love it when people are willing to take chances in different genres. It doesn't always work.
True.
I don't always like it, but so far, I'm loving Posty.
I agree 100%. And he did his like thing with Billy Strings and a couple other people, and just like, I think he's making an interesting choice and move, and the good one probably for his career in country music by, doing duets with some of the biggest country music artists today. But he's also shown us that he can hang with, the classic and traditional sounds, and I'm sure he knows independent artists. And I don't know, you probably didn't watch the CMA Awards, but I did, and normally I don't watch award shows, but I watched it this time, and I was curious what he was going to do. So he actually played one of his like new originals that sounds way more traditional than a lot of the stuff on radio today. But one of the things I noticed that he did, maybe intentionally or not, is everyone he talked to, it was yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Every single time he talked to Reba, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. He talked to Bobby Bones, yes, sir, yes, sir. The whole time that he was having a conversation with them. And I was like, this can't be like an act. This is not put on. I love it. Yeah.
Well, he was born and raised in Texas, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
And obviously, he's probably like a lot of us, where when he was born, he grew up with a lot of different influences.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And if he got popular in rap, and he's done some rock stuff, he's shown that he's not one genre bound. I see no reason why he shouldn't be accepted if the quality is there.
Sure.
This is for any artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Country music has kind of turned into a genre where a lot of people are like, well, I was a big act somewhere else, but I'm going to come kind of spend my later years there. I get a little nervous about it.
Yeah.
Because country's known to have the most loyal fan base.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't want people taking advantage of having loyal fan bases, thinking that, we're just some suckers that will accept anybody.
Sure.
But most of what I hear, I love it when genres cross.
Right. It's welcoming too, like if the quality is there, and you are intentionally here because you appreciate the genre and you like respect the artist and the songwriters and the music, and that's why you're here as an intention.
You grew up on 90s, you said, right?
I did.
Well, in the 90s there were some like really important albums, like Common Thread, where everybody did a tribute to the Eagles. You had Vince Gill, Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt did the video for Take It Easy and reunited the Eagles. A few years later, you have Rhythm, Country, and Blues, where every country artist was matched up with an R&B artist, and it was a terrific album. And it really started to show that country music is not, one lane.
Right.
I think it set up everything that it's become today.
Yeah.
Where people like Post Malone can start coming here because you found out that country music is actually a very inclusive genre.
Very much.
And is open to anything as long as it's within certain bounds.
Yes, most definitely. I agree. No, yeah, I haven't heard of the albums that you're talking about, but I feel like I want to go listen to them. But I mean, you have some of like the biggest independent artists too, someone like a Cody Jinks or even like a Sturgill who like had different influences. Like I think maybe Cody started out in like metal, right, or something like that, and came over and started to do more what they call like his outlaw independent countries kind of stuff. So it's just, I mean, I don't know, people find their home here.
Sturgill, the way he did his career so far is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Like literally wildly different albums.
Yeah, most definitely. Metamodern was like, what did they call it? It was like a psychedelic country. Is that like they kind of like he pioneered a new subgenre, I guess, with that one. Super interesting. I'm so excited to see. I'm so excited to see what they come up with for the Johnny Blue Skies thing, and just like what his new album is going to sound like.
Did it release today or this weekend?
The 12th, I think. Is it the 12th?
Because I saw a meme this morning.
That's today. Oh my goodness.
I saw the meme this morning that said, it was a picture of a guy walking slowly away, and it said, going to get stoned in my basement all weekend and listen to Johnny Blue Skies saying goodbye to my family.
Passage du Désir. I probably said that so wrong.
So you'll probably know this because I don't. What is up with Johnny Blue Skies? What am I missing?
That's a good question. I think he played Johnny Blue Skies on some collaboration with something a while ago and then came back as it. I mean, he did that whole thing where he was like 5 albums as Sturgill Simpson, then I'm going to just creatively do whatever I want. I mean, he did Brother Marshall for a while, and now he's doing the Johnny Blue Skies thing. And I don't know 100% the origin of that, but I think he had like played that in some other sort of collaboration thing that he had done before. You might be able to correct me there, but collaborated with Diplo. So interesting.
Well,
look at Trigger. He is everywhere.
That's a bad part about the thrice. I won't bother to say it because I don't know the validity of it.
But we'll go back to the original.
This is great.
If you guys go look it up, you can find out what's so funny. But is that true? Do you know Diplo? Because you're more of a...
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I've really listened to Diplo. Don't know if these accusations, if it's proven.
Oh, it's EDM.
Yeah.
Oh, beware the Dread Pirate Johnny Blue Skies. That's right.
Boy, that kind of threw me off for a second.
Interesting.
Well, it was interesting that they were like saying, hey, here's Sturgill, who's a great person in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they're like, but by the way, he's hanging out with this thrice accused. It's like, does that really need to be part of the story?
Apparently I think it does. Yeah.
I think as an independent, I'm just kind of middle of the road politically. Mm-hmm. I see validity on both sides of the argument. I think I'm just going to write in Sturgill next election.
That would be amazing.
Can you imagine if the State of the Union was just a concert?
Sturgill, Jamie, 24.
There you go.
Or maybe the other way around. Whatever. I think Jamie Johnson would be an incredible leader.
Yeah, we talked about Jamie on the last podcast. I mean, and he could get up. The high cost of living is somewhat of a State of the Union.
Yeah.
It's kind of a...
All of the addresses are now musically given.
Like Mercury and Red. If it was just... if he just did Sound and Fury for the entire State of the Union, I would be the happiest guy in the world.
I think a lot of people would. It would probably make more... Well, I don't know how political you get, but it would probably make more sense than a lot of stuff they're talking about now.
What about... So are you a big fan of comedy?
I like wit and I like humor, but a stand-up comedy is like not my favorite thing. No.
Because I saw you did a video with Theo, like of Theo Von, where you were mouthing something he had said, and it cracked me up.
I did like a what do you call those things? A cap cut. And it was something like, he said, I thought about that once, but then people told me I shouldn't think a lot, so I probably shouldn't, something like that. And I just like put it over a concept, and I thought it was really funny. But he's a funny dude.
Everything he does cracks me up, because now it's the meme where it's like, yeah, no. I did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I mean, those things just get overrun. Joey, what do we have going on in the news that we should ask Nikki about?
Oh, my goodness.
I saw something with Dave Grohl calling out Taylor Swift on stage in London while she was performing, kind of. He like mentioned she was there, and there was like an eruption of boos, and he said that he was going to call his tour the Errors
Tour. Yeah.
Because he actually plays live music.
Oh my gosh. I did see a little bit of that clip, and I was kind of like, what, like why, I guess?
Yeah,
was he calling her out? Like, I didn't know she was there though.
Okay, he didn't call her out.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
He said that our band is playing live,
Yeah.
which was interpreted as she was also in London at the same. Was he in London when he said it?
Yeah. he
Yeah.
was.
So it was interpreted as them kind of poking fun at her for not having live playing the tracks.
I guess. Which doesn't make sense. I know she does. She then apparently responded by thanking her live band on stage.
Yes. Okay.
Boy, I'll tell you what, you don't want to go after the Swifties.
You don't want to go after the Swifties. You do not want to go after the Swifties.
13-year-old girls who make death threats. That is amazing.
She's a movement. It's one of those things. Yeah, no, I remember hearing that story, but I didn't have the whole picture behind it. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I couldn't imagine, she has so much energy in her performances and never looks breathy or out of breath. I'm just like, it's probably just a performance element, right? A lot of it's theatrical, like she did with her football guy.
Travis
Kelce. They did a whole theatrical performance for one of the songs, and I'm just like, it's so intricate. I couldn't imagine that she's singing the whole time. I don't know. It's just part of the show. But yeah, I've never seen her.
Have you ever just stopped and looked at our buddy Dillon Weldon? He kind of looks like Travis Kelce.
Have I stopped and looked at? Well, yes, we've been in person with each other a couple times, but I don't know if I've ever seen Travis Kelce.
It was just funny because I was doing our podcast, watching the video back, and I sent him a text and was like, "Man, you look like Travis Kelce." So anyway,
he's probably the long lost third brother.
And by the way, thoughts and prayers to the Weldon family.
Yes, absolutely.
They lost their house, and if anyone goes onto Dillon's socials, you can see how to help out in that cause.
They have a GoFundMe. Yeah, he has done so much for this genre and grown so quickly. The stories he tells are great, and obviously he's so knowledgeable, and he fits the part too, because if I wasn't interpreting what he was saying as deep South Louisiana accent, you probably wouldn't know what he was saying. But yeah, what he's doing is amazing, and I know he has a lot of cool things coming out soon with his brand and stuff. So
yeah, I have to tell you, since you love independent country music so much, one of the things that I love so much about you and Dillon Weldon and Whiskey Riff, and even getting into someone like Farce the Music or definitely Trigger at Saving Country Music, is this all kind of falls under independent country music journalism in a way. Farce is more, parody, but all of these little content creators or journalism that are free of the mainstream is what's really carrying. That's how I get all my news now.
Good. Yeah.
I get half my news, non-music news, from Whiskey Riff now.
Yes, they know everything. I feel like they're on top of everything. They're doing it right. It just is for the news aspect, to me, when something happens, it's not independent. It's just so overdone by every other outlet, everyone ever. And you see it, you're bombarded with the headline. And it's something, very minuscule sometimes. And it's just people want to hear what's really going on in the genre and moves that are being made and artists that are, who are doing amazing things. And it's just tell a cool story about it.
Well, do you think your opinion, when you give 5, are you going off referrals or always just your opinion?
It depends on the category. So what I've found that's worked really well recently is doing something on Instagram where it's, like I said before, asking the audience what their top 5, favorite songs of fill in the blank is. Zach Bryan, Dwight Yoakam, George Strait, and then just letting them reply to you. And then I choose the top 5 ranked. But if I'm thinking best 5 songs of the week, new release, or the best 5 independent country music artists that you need to know now or something like that, most of the time it's just me choosing. Yeah.
Okay. I just realized why you were saying that. I shouldn't have asked you just about females. Who are your top artists, top country artists of all time?
Of all time? I've told this to everybody ever, but my favorite country artist of all time is Eric Church. Hence the Chief shirt. I think he was really the one for me that while I was kind of going from like late 2000s into currently the independent scene, where he was like, this is what outlaw is going to look like now, or this is what doing it your own way is going to look like now. You know, he was kind of carrying that theme, and he has a lot of rock and roll elements in his music, but he can still do something simple like Springsteen. Or my favorite song, one of my favorite songs from him is Chevy Van, which was like on his very first EP that he ever put out back in the Caldwell County days. So he is very versatile, and yeah, I love his music, and he's incredible live. So Eric Church, top 5 artists of all time. Oh my gosh. George Strait is definitely in there. Brooks and Dunn are definitely in there. Yes. Man, a lot of them are recent. I really would have to put Shane Smith and the Saints of my top 5 artists of all time. And then probably Shania Twain. Just, yeah, top 5 men and women. See, most of them are 90s. Like, I grew up on 90s, but there's so many others. Just, like, Toby Keith is definitely up there. Keith Whitley, I listen to all the time. John Michael Montgomery, I listen to all the time. It's, like, it's really, really hard.
When you want to have a good day, just put on Life's a Dance.
Yeah. True.
Just throw it on.
So many good feel-good songs.
I have to tell you something about Eric Church.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in you for not including the song Some of It.
Oh, okay. That's fine. You can be disappointed.
I think that is one of the deepest, most, like, I want to say deepest. It's just, I love the perspective of that song.
Yeah.
Do you ever just listen and you're like, oh yeah, this is life?
The play on words that he uses and the lyricism there is very, very good.
Like, I have to put that as like my favorite Eric Church song.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
No disappointment. No, see there. Now I'm turning into Instagram comments telling people I'm disappointed in them.
You are wrong.
That's funny. But no, I love your list. Brooks and Dunn, they just toured with David Lee Murphy.
Yeah.
And Ernest.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm starting to get into being a bigger fan of Ernest.
Okay, so I've always laughed at people when they said so and so liked my post. I don't know how the hell y'all know these people like their post, but I learned the other day why y'all know. If you have a blue check mark, your like goes at the top of your list. Like, so a verified account liked it.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I think so, because if you go back into your history and like somebody commented, shared, or liked, and they have a blue check mark, they'll stay at the top regardless or not if it's chronological.
Right. That's what I meant. So Ernest liked 2 of our clips the other day, and I was like, this is cool. I love that dude.
He's looking for a guest.
Huh?
So he's looking for a guest. He can come on and chat with you.
Well,
awesome.
Speaking of looking for guests, you have a podcast, right?
I do.
Real Country?
Yes.
Okay. So you're looking for guests?
I am.
Eric Church?
Eric Church, if you're listening, I would probably fly to the deep South Antarctica if you would jump on and just have a conversation with me. I have so many questions. No, but yeah, I had started this brand a while ago when I was still trying to do the whole like music plus things to do in Nashville thing, and it was called Talk Nashty to me. I don't know. I still think it's a pretty interesting name.
Creative.
But I did like 2 podcasts under that name, and it was mostly just like me, just like shooting the breeze. And then I was like, I kind of need guests. And then Dylan Holiday and I started doing the Whiskey Wednesday, which was more or less like a podcasting, but it was more like a live performance on TikTok Live. I don't even know if it doesn't exist after that. And so I was like, I need to actually get a long form asset that I can have forever and start bringing guests on. And so I started the podcast, and I wanted to call it the Real Country Podcast. And I was like, there's no way that name is not taken, right? So I searched, and there's only one that I found, and anyone can correct me, but it was just called Real Country. And the last episode they ever did was in 2018. So I was like, I'm going to call it the Real Country Podcast and make it different. And here we are, off to the races. And I have 1 episode out, second one's in editing. I am looking for guests. And then I'm also doing like a different YouTube style show as well that I have the first edit back on that will hopefully go out really soon. And I'm really excited about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So is it on streaming and YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
I put the podcast both on YouTube so people can see who it is I'm talking to, and then also put it up on Spotify and all the other podcast outlets.
And that's another one. I didn't know the woman that you had, Kay?
Adair Kay.
Adair Kay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, turning me on to new stuff.
Sweet girl. Super rock and roll. She's so feisty. She has such a cool sound. We were talking about it on the podcast. She's like 5'0". But she brings such big energy to the stage. And I really like telling stories like that people probably would have never like found. Like she's from Oklahoma, does like the Texas, Oklahoma, like rock, Southern style country, has a lot of different influences, but it still feels like it's like a Cadillac 3 or Whiskey Myers kind of thing. Yeah, she's great.
I love podcasting because, there's a lot of them out there, I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sea of people, but when you get to spend time with someone for an hour or two and just all the cell phones are put down,
Yeah.
you get to connect with someone, you get to riff off ideas.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the only time in my life I get to do that with another person.
So very true.
And again, when you start to bring on people that other people might not know tons about, it's such a beautiful thing that people get to get more and more exposure.
Yeah.
There's more and more channels now to get out of it. So I love to see that you're doing this Real Country. I'm still baffled that the name wasn't taken.
I am too. Maybe I didn't do really good research, but I'm telling you, the first couple of pages of Google were like, no, it's fine. So I guess we'll see. If somebody comes after me, then I'll just add another word to it or something.
What about, did you go on a health journey?
I did. Mm-hmm.
About coming up on 3 years, I've lost 85 pounds.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Do you still run Welliance?
I do. So the only thing about running that is that I still own the domain and I still have a very big idea for the concept. I feel like it would take forever to talk about it now. But the long story short of it is I'm pre-med. Like my undergrad degree is pre-med. So I have a relatively medical background. I was supposed to go to med school, but I didn't. I got my MBA at Belmont in music business instead. Oh, nice. Yeah. And I just was like, I don't think I want to go to 12, 14 more years of med school. So we decided against it. But I was always sort of into health, being as healthy as you can. Because when I was like a kid, I was always an athlete, but I was also just like a larger person in general. And that came with me all the way through college. And after I graduated, it wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing in college. I just didn't care. Mm-hmm. So when I got to be like an adult, I was like, I should probably think differently about my choices. So 24, 25 years old, I lost about 65 pounds and wanted to compete at one point because I was just like, this is something I want to see if I can do. I got sick in the middle of my training, so I wasn't ever able to do that. But after that, I just got really geeked into like biohacking and eating well and the wearables and all that kind of stuff. So I was on that journey for a long time. And then it was one of those things where it was like I loved it so much when I started to make money in it. It felt like work and I didn't love it as much. So I stopped pursuing anything that had to do with health.
I think you're the first person I've ever had on that has their own TED Talk.
Yeah, I did do that. Oh my gosh, you're bringing up things that I just completely forgot about. They had me do a TED Talk during COVID.
Right. I could tell because it was over Zoom.
It was over Zoom. And I was in my apartment and they thought that they could potentially do it live. And then they came back to us and they were like, just kidding. We can't do it. You're going to have to film it. So I was like scrambling to put together, like I was trying to make my desk look professional and like not like I was a total slob. Like all my stuff was everywhere. So I like set it up nice. I put my little degree pamphlet like really like shown on the screen. And then I just gave my talk. And after that, people asked you live questions because like the attendance was they were live on Zoom. So they allowed you to take questions from the audience, but you weren't allowed to promote anything. So it was kind of hard. But yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
To talk about that. And I got a lot of like inquiries about if I was continuing to work in that afterwards. And I just kind of shared the company that I was with at the time. And that was all she wrote with it. Like if I go back into that ever, I have like a little TEDx talk in the pocket. But yeah.
Man, health journeys are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much talk about it nowadays in the news, but I spent 2.5 years basically kind of doing a form of keto.
Okay.
Not definitely keto, but you know, low carb, low sugar intake. Now I got high cholesterol.
Oh boy.
So now we're working through that problem.
Nice.
But I'm not really for quick fixes.
No. It's always bad in the end.
Yeah. Like I worry about the Ozempic thing.
Yeah.
But like when you go on and lose 65, 85 pounds, it's a journey and it's like a struggle day after day after day. But
It is.
go on it. It's so much fun.
It is fun. You can really see what you're capable of because at the it's like you will try probably a few times. I don't know if this was your experience. You'll probably try a few times, try different approaches, and you quote unquote fail or it doesn't work for you for the first few times. And then when it just like you don't know where you will be when you just realize that something you're doing has hit.
Right.
Like you'll just look at yourself and you'll be like, I look different. I look really different. Or like my habits have changed and you don't even really know it until you're there because it's so hard to get there. But once you're there, it's like, hey, this is sustainable. It's just the getting there that's really tough.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
I just tell people though, like you're gonna love the results if you lose the weight, but it's not gonna be anything close to how great you're gonna feel.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I put up 2 dumbbells one time with 40 pounds on each side. I'm like, this was me. This is what I've lost.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it crazy?
That's wild. Well, good for you. That's awesome. I love to hear when people do that.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
I didn't know if you were still running Well Alliance.
Oh man, no. It's one of the email addresses that I have. It's one of the endeavors that I've started in my lifetime that like I think eventually is going to be a cool idea.
Yeah. Awesome. One of the things we'd like to talk to people about on the podcast is the drive to make it.
Okay.
What is your advice to content creators?
Oh my goodness. My advice to content creators is be an open-minded sponge wherever you go. Become a producer, not just a consumer. And both of those are like learn everything that you can from people who are doing what you want to do. Take it for a grain of salt though, that like your situation is different. But also when you go look at social media, like I always encourage people, a lot of people are just like social media is like a wasteland. You'll go there and you'll get stuck for hours just scrolling and watching. I think that's okay if you're doing it for a purpose. Like a lot of the times I will literally catch myself being on social media for probably 2 hours, but I want to come out of that experience with I've saved like 20 videos that I want to go back and learn from. Why was their hook good? Why did they get so many likes? Why do they have so many follows? Why did this video do so good? Was there some sort of pattern interrupt at the beginning? What was their concept? And like study what's working well.
Yeah.
And just like, make every move intentional and just like, be a sponge and just like, have intentionality behind all the stuff that you're doing.
It's fascinating that people can create content
It is.
and blow up like they're blowing up right now.
It is 100%. Did you see that whole phenomenon with the chocolate covered strawberries? Did you see that thing? Oh my goodness. I don't even know if the original video is up anymore, but people were like, it was literally just a bowl of chocolate covered strawberries that I think somebody homemade, which it doesn't sound that hard to homemade chocolate covered strawberries because it's just chocolate sauce over strawberries. But they were just moving the bowl around to like a trending sound. And I think it got either the topmost or the second topmost views on TikTok of all time.
What?
Yeah.
Is this like the guy that was skateboarding down the road listening to Stevie Nicks?
And you never know what's going to go crazy.
Is that the weirdest thing?
Yeah, like it might just not exist anymore. The most viral TikTok video. It was like people were like, this is going to pass the Bella Porch video. It's going to, I have no idea why it did so well.
That's all it was.
That's all it was. Yeah.
I can't find the original clip of it. It's just this guy kind of talking over it.
Yeah, that's all it was.
What is the Bella Porch video?
She is some of these creators, I don't really understand what they do. I think she just she has a look like maybe like an anime female, and she did like a little voiceover to one of the like trending sounds where her I don't even know how to explain it. Her eyes are like bouncing around and her head's bouncing around kind of like an avatar in a video game or something. And that one, and it's like the most liked video of all time or something, or second most, and that's all it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is that? 67 million likes?
Yeah, and I think I had 200 and something million views.
Is there volume on that? Is it just her bouncing her head?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're actually
42.5 million shares.
It's M to the B, it's M to the B, it's M to the B, it's M to the B. Bam.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. I know.
What else are amazing videos? Because
What am I doing with my life?
okay, please don't redo the video. Your
Oh
stuff,
no,
your stuff is
I don't
great
think
on
I
its
could
own.
ever. Thank you. I don't have that. I don't know what it is. Appeal, I guess. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's.
I
Whatever
cannot
that is,
believe
I don't
that
got
two of the biggest videos she's referenced is a bowl of chocolate-covered strawberries and just a girl. What is she? Is that anime music she was singing? Are you into anime? I'm not either.
No, not at all. I couldn't really tell you what that was until I sort of tried to figure out what she did. But yeah,
Just the right time, I think. It was the right video at the right time.
was probably the right-
She has the right look.
yes, exactly.
You know?
And she did the face zoom, and I think that's what the face zoom, and I think that's what followed her around to make it kind of look like that. Yeah, I guess it's as good as mine.
Okay, what's your favorite viral video, Joey?
It's not even that viral, but it's like a 10 or 12-year-old YouTube video, and it's just a dude ollieing over a dog. And the video is called "Ollieing Over Fat Piece of Shit Dog." And it's like a 7-second video, but I think it's so funny.
It was probably like an old Vine or something.
Yeah, let's see.
The social media sphere is so crazy.
The one that I saw the other day was the funniest. It was a boarded up van, and it was a kid's feet.
That's it. That's awesome.
Okay, well, this got 434,000 views 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Y'all are killing me. There has to be something better
There's
than
Travis
these.
Kelsey.
Yeah, Travis.
Where was old Trav?
Here, I had him.
You know, I've seen him at a lot of the concerts dancing. At some point, he's got to get tired of the music, right?
I don't know.
I mean, at some point, he's got to go backstage.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could just be such a big fan of, your significant other that you just can't ever get tired of what they're doing. But I don't know. I could see the Dillon. I can see it now. Yeah.
You have to go from the side.
You do kind of.
It's the side profile.
It is. I wonder if he played football when he did. Did you talk to him about that?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. We'll have to ask him. That's funny.
Well, so since we're getting down to it, you have anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to know who your favorite artists of all time are.
Didn't we do this at the beginning?
No.
Like 5?
Sure. We'll do 5.
Elvis, Waylon, Travis Tritt, Sturgill Simpson, and Otis Redding.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think we had 2 of those. What do you think about, this is a question I like to ask people a lot because it kind of gets hard to distinguish anymore. But when you're talking about country music, how far do you go in terms of like genre bending? Do you include Americana? Do you include what they consider Ameripolitan? Or you include it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything started with the outlaw era that got today.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that these independent artists are doing today, where they know now that they don't need the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really happened when Willie and Waylon bucked the system and said, "I'm going to do it my own way."
Yeah.
Because they started being part of the system,
Mm-hmm.
and then they bucked it, and I think they really laid the blueprint. So, but for me, I think everything changed 86, 89.
Okay.
The class of 86 and the class of 89, and I said it a lot of times on the podcast, so I'm sorry, it's been ad nauseum. But when those 2 classes came out, Randy Travis, Steve Earle, Dwight Yoakam in 86, and then Travis Tritt, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, and Clint Black in 89, you finally had where country music was no longer going to be defined by an era, and it was going to be just a lot of great artists going a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
Then Brooks and Dunn comes in, starts really rocking out country, and then a lot of traditional guys like Mark Chestnut in the 90s. They all just added up to just this amazing thing that I think we're still riding the wave from.
Oh, we are indeed. Absolutely.
Got to the late 90s and it got a little screwy because now people were chasing kind of what Garth was doing.
Right.
I think Shania was kind of a response to, hey, we can take this thing way bigger than country.
Yeah.
And I love Shania.
Yeah.
I mean, she's
Her
terrific.
earlier stuff, she is, yeah.
But again, they kind of got a little bit too poppy with it sometimes. But I love one of her pop versions from an Up album called Nah.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to that?
Oh, yeah. There's the red and green version of the
Yeah.
Up album.
I think the one I'm talking about is from the red version.
Okay.
That's a fun song.
It's so fun. All of those albums are so fun. There's an argument that I heard somebody talk a long time about, that they were saying that Rascal Flatts was the birth of like bro pop country.
Yeah.
I don't really think of it ever that way, but I mean, I might be able to see that.
And you know how Eric thinks about them.
Yeah. Somebody has to replace them,
I have to be honest with you. I've heard that they're terrible live. Or they
really?
always were. Yeah. I heard that they
I've never heard them play live.
created sound. But
Oh, yeah.
not to be a hater.
Not to be a hater.
Before we get out of here, let's put up her socials, please. So
Thank you. Heck yeah. Nope.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
And I'm jealous of these following numbers, you and Dillon, but I'm learning it.
Man, he's kicked my butt, and it's crazy. I'm going to have to learn from him.
Okay, so for the people just listening, we do have her socials put up. So it's Nikki in Nashville, all one word. Very good job with alliteration. And then we have TikTok. How else do you want to be found?
Same thing. Nikki in Nashville on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The podcast is Real Country, and we will have a way for you to find the new YouTube show whenever it is available.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
And you have that new episode coming out soon?
Yeah, it should be probably tomorrow. I just got the edit back today. It's like a play on, the Western AF guys do like their version of a live performance on YouTube. And I was like, well, I wonder what would happen if you took that and also like heard from the artist too. So it's a combination of acoustic performances and interviews. So yeah.
Well, listen, before we get out of here, I just got to tell you again, it's really awesome meeting you.
Awesome to meet you.
I love your content.
Thank you.
It's as good as you've been for me for the last 6 weeks listening to some of your stuff. One thing that's really exciting to me is you're going to continue to do that for me by exposing me to new music. So
Yes, I hope that's the case.
I really appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you.
it's good talking to you.
Good talking to you as well. I appreciate you having me here.
Hope to have you again.
Oh, anytime.
All right now, Nikki.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
guys. Bye.